guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Shannon. I recently placed top 8 with Doffy on the OC online treasure cup. I'm pretty stoked about that. Before we get into the deck list, I'd like to give a shout out to Beyond Odyssey, our sponsor. I feel like the deck list, it's pretty standard, but there's a few spicy things in it. So I hope that you enjoy them, and I'll show you the list now. Okay, this is the list that I ran. As you might notice, there are no events. We are missing 3 cards. There's 3 more cards that I ran on the day. So we ran not 1, not 2, but 3 big boy Kaidos. Yeah, so no events and 3 Kaidos. I really enjoyed this on the day. It's very common for decks to cut events when you're running Jozu, so that's normal, but you still usually run at least like 1 2-cost event. But I thought for the day, since no one will be able to see my deck list since it's just online, we don't need the 2-cost because people are going to be playing around it anyway. They don't get to see my deck list, and so that spot went to another Kaido for me, which I thought really came in clutch on a few matchups, and I really enjoyed it throughout the day. Running the Teach and Jozu package, I think you should be running Teach. It just allows you to go aggressive when you really need to. And yeah, you can look through my numbers. Just I've got these 1-drops. I only ran 2 Gecko just so I could fit more sort of like Jozu and Kaidos and Teachers. Yeah, the Gecko I think is a really important card, but you can go a lot of games without playing it, so it's not, I don't think it's like vital. Like I was looking at almost cutting it completely, but there's just some turns where using Gecko to get back just either like 1 Jinbei or 1 Boa or 1 Law, like sometimes it's just the last piece you're missing. So I think having at least a couple Gecko is good, just especially versus Black. Just being able to drop like 3 characters, like use this, get back Boa, use Boa effect, drop 3 or 4 characters in one go is really clean. I'll go through the matchups. So round 1 I versed Luchi. I lost die roll, had to go second. It's a matchup you really want to win the die roll. I was versing Jason Pan, and so lost the die roll, had to go second, but really luckily able to drop 2 1-costs, so that's really important. Dropping 2 1-costs is really important because what that allows you to do is even if they clear with Brook, you'll have, so they'll kill one of them, you'll then be able to still use your Law on the following turn. And bouncing that Brook back is really important, so having enough 1-drops in your deck is really important so that you can do that. Round 2 I versed Rebecca. It was an interesting game. I didn't know how it would go. I sort of had a weak start, but it actually ended up being good because even though I didn't have a lot of characters to play, I just did big numbers with leader effect. And those big numbers meant that he was taking his life and not able to counter out and search like he wanted to. And then I think in the late game I did drop 1 Kaido, so having Kaido for that matchup was really nice. I versed the Doffy mirror afterwards. That felt really good. I went second for that one. I think second's really favored. And yeah, just sort of normal Jinbei Law strategies, nothing special there. And then I had my only loss of the day, round 4, which was a BY. I think I had an okay hand, but the problem was pudding timing. So I had Kaido and I had Jozu, I had some bodies. I played them on curve. On my 8 Don turn, I didn't have anything special to do. I didn't have a pudding yet. I think if I had pudding and was able to play pudding on 8 and then play my Kaido on 10, I probably would have been able to win. But I only got pudding on my 10 Don turn, so it meant that I had to pick between pudding or Kaido. Playing this and then this the turn after would have been really nice, but yeah, I had to unfortunately play pudding on the turn I'd like to play Kaido, and then look at playing Kaido the turn after, but it was just, he'd gone too fast. He played really well. Round 5 I versed another Luchi. I think I went second again, and it was pretty much the exact same. I dropped 2 1s, got into a Jinbei Law. It is a bit high roll, but it's kind of what you have to look for when you go second versus Luchi. I think it's kind of favored for them if you have to go second. But if you do get your like 2 1-costs into like some Laws and Jinbeis to bounce their Brook, it can look really good for you. Then round 6, I versed Enel. So I versed my friend Nick. Enel was a really hard matchup and I was kind of expecting to lose. I did draw 2 Kaidos though, so I got 2 Kaidos down, which helped me a lot. I was able to sort of spam the board, defend my characters. He played really well and he got me into a point where he was ending the game a lot faster than I thought he would. And he put me in a position where I had to win that turn, and I didn't want to swing that turn. So I'd swung a couple times, and I'd gotten him into a position where he had 1 life, and he had 8 cards in hand. And I could swing 2 12Ks, so I think I had a Kaido, and then I had 7 Don, which I could put on my leader. So I could go 12-12. But the second last life that he'd taken was a Frankie 2K, and he had triggered it out to play it, draw a card. And in my mind, because his board was already stacked, he didn't need that card on the field really. The only reason he'd be playing it is if he had enough 2Ks in hand. And so I looked at him, I looked at his 8 card hand, and I was like, no way this guy can counter out 12K. And I was just sitting there, I was like, I can either go 12-12, or I had the option of playing Pudding. If you play Pudding with 7 Don, you have 3 Don left over, which you can chuck on your leader. So he'll have 5 random cards, and you go 8. And I was just thinking, and I just felt because he triggered that Frankie, that it was the right play to go for Pudding. I played Pudding, I went 8, he didn't have enough counter, so the 8 went through, and then the 12 went through afterwards, luckily. No triggers for me, which I'm pretty happy about. Then round 7, I versed Purple Luffy. I lost the die roll and went second. I haven't practiced this matchup a lot, but I do know it's favored for Doffy. Going second, I was actually really scared. The idea of him getting a 6K character down and then sort of snowballing from that seemed really scary, but he kind of drew dead. I think he dropped nothing on his 4-Don turn. He just, on his second turn, he just jammed me for 9, and then he played a 7-cost Luffy, which didn't bring anything out, so I was in a pretty good spot. It was Jasper. He played really well though. It was still really close, even though he had a really weak start. So he gave me a good run for my money, but I was able to just get it at the end. And then my last one was another mirror for Doffy, and that one was really grindy. We were both going back and forth a lot. We had both dropped this Kaido, so I dropped it to bounce his Jozu and something, and then his answer was to drop his own Kaido. And then we were like defending our Kaidos with boas. I think I ended up clearing his Kaido by a 1 turn. I swung 9 at his 2 life leader. He threw 3 cards and only had 1 card left in hand. And so I went 12 at 12, and obviously the last card was dead. So it was just a really long, grindy game. I found in the Doffy mirrors, everyone was using this to bounce itself back to hand a lot, which I see the benefit in doing a couple times, but I felt like a lot of the times they were not leaving themselves enough characters on board to build their own tempo. So I feel that's something to watch out in the mirror. I felt like I was much more aggressive with leaving my 5K characters on field, which does mean I do have to defend them more heavily. And maybe I don't have a bounce law in hand, but I mean, having 5K characters on field just allow you to like ping cards out of their hand. So I would say if you're playing the mirror, just make sure you're not bringing back your 5K characters all the time with this law. It seemed something that I thought people were doing wrong in the mirror. It's definitely a good strategy when it's a rested target so that the opposing Doffy can't swing into it. But I would just think a bit longer on it. The decklist felt really good. I really liked the 3 Kaidos. I wasn't missing any events. The 2 cost, I don't really like it. I think you just need the 2 cost if people can see your decklist. So like if you're versing BY, that they're scared and they want to do 1 life 7K and they don't want to do no life 9K with blockers. So I don't think it's really needed for an online. Pudding is a card I just wanted to see so much more and at specific times. I know some people run it at 2. I would not run it less than 3, and I would even consider upping it to 4, because I feel like Pudding is really good, but it's only good at really specific times. So if you aren't getting it off at the right time, then it just doesn't do its job how you want it sometimes. So I would consider upping this to 4. It does mean it's a card that you can't hit out of leader, and sometimes it's dead. But I feel like it just gives you so many options if you've got it in hand. Especially if you have it in hand early, you can then sort of change how you play the game because you know that you've got it there as a backup. But yeah, I think the deck ran really well today. I really liked running the 3 boss monsters. It was really fun. No events for this list. I hope you like it. If you have any questions, leave it out in the comment and I'll try to answer.